Mr. Bode, Parks and Recreation Director, anything you'd like to add on the subject?
Good evening, Mayor Bauer and members of the board. I want to mention that Allie and Katie have over 25 years of pool experience between the two. They've done an outstanding job and improved our attendance this summer. And our revenue went up as well, so I can't thank them enough for all their effort. They put in a tremendous amount of time recruiting and evaluating staff and training staff before the season ever started throughout the summer. So those two ladies, along with the other staff, did a fantastic job. On Monday night, the park board approved the park budget that does indeed include the operation of Super Splash in 2015. It does indeed include $50,000 set aside for a park comprehensive study, as well as $75,000 for capital improvements in the park system, and $50,000 for pool improvements as well. I'll be happy to address any questions you have.
Mr. Ernst.
Thank the park board for their longer than usual work on the subject. And I'd start with just a motion to approve this project. I know the budget, and it'd be my desire to keep the Super Splash open, obviously. Second.
Motion been made by Mr. Ernst, second by Mr. Mock to approve the budget. Into discussion. Mr. Van Buster.
I have a question for Mr. Sharma. Now this includes an amount of money that would come from the city to assist in those capital improvements. Is that correct? Some $80,000. And if that is correct, where is that money exactly coming from? Where are we going to reduce spending in the budget at some other place?
Before you answer that question, I think I want to make sure that when we say from the city to another department, we are all one. So one department is asking for funds from the general fund or an allowance from the general fund. We are all one. We're not a city and a park department or a city and a police department. We are one. Mr. Sharp.
I understand that,
Mr.
Mr.
Sharp.
Mayor, but I'm still speaking. I understand
You
that.
can ask a question. Mr.
I
Sharp.
did ask a question, but I haven't quite finished my statement since you made yours. The added thing I want to say is that yes, it is a partner city, but it has been separated. It has its own budget. It has its directors appointed specifically by the park board. It's the park board that sets that budget. Yes, there's greater cooperation than there has been in the past, certainly between the parks department and the rest of the city. But yes, it should certainly be considered as much part of the city as any other department. I agree with that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Sharp, would you like to continue, please?
Good evening, Mayor Bauer, Board of Aldermen. I think the question you're asking me tonight, whether I have decided where the money is going to come from or not, it just depends how the governing body is going to vote. In the absence of that, I'm not going to contemplate or figure it out where the money is going to come without knowing the vote or the direction given to the staff.
Mr. Lightfoot.
Mr. Sharma, just because this is kind of complicated for people to understand, and maybe people that are going to see this at home as well, but so Mr. Boji just suggested that this budget that the park board approved and that's before us tonight has $75,000 in the budget for capital improvements for Super Splash.
In the parks.
In the parks.
In the parks only.
75,000, and then it's got another 50,000 set aside for what specifically?
Parks comprehensive study.
For the parks comprehensive study. So, to Alderman Van Buster's point, is there an additional, the money you described there, is there an additional $80,000 that comes from somewhere in order to make this happen? I'm just trying to make everyone be clear of what Mr. Van Buster's question was. I'm a little mixed up myself.
The repairs required to open Super Splash are estimated at $166,000 for 2015 to open the doors. What the park board has approached the city with is a proposal to cost share that $160,000, $80,000 from parks, $80,000 from the city. As I understand it, that is the recommendation of the park board.
Okay, and that helps with clarity a little bit, just because, as the mayor stated, we are all one city and we're all one entity, but there is money from the park board, and then there is extra money asked for from wherever it comes from. I just wanted to get that clear for people to understand, and for myself to understand.
Mr. Ernst?
Yes, I believe the way we had thought of this was the Parks is in very much need of a comprehensive study, not only for what the citizens of this town want, but also the funding for what the citizens of this town want. But rather than close a park and then do a study, the thought was let's find out more detail of what needs to be done, and go forward once that is done. But there's no sense in order to keep the park open, certain goals have to be met, and the park board feels that, depending on how their budget looks, this would be what they felt would make them comfortable with approving the Super Splash to be open. They're actually changing their mind, so to speak, from one budget to the next. I think it is a good idea to do this to help us down the road as we learn more and more about the park system. It will allow them to make some certain improvements that should be done right away, rather than next April or May when it's too late to do anything to the park. It kind of kicks the can down the road for us on this decision. Obviously, perhaps a couple things which I hope and I probably know will happen is once we have a finance director here, and we will dig into the Parks Department board will dig into more what they need for financing of the park system that the citizens want, and we will go from there. That said, I'm just glad that we have this choice tonight. Thank you.
Ms.
Mr.
Belson?
Mayor, Mr. Mayor.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, go ahead.
So basically, $80,000 is what the park is asking the city to help them. So what it will mean if this vote goes affirmatively, the budget that we just approved 2 weeks ago, you're asking indirectly to me to come back and amend the budget and find out $80,000, get that approved. And so therefore, there has to be some rethinking, some ideas that we are going to float around with the management team if this goes through, and reduce the budget that we approved 2 weeks ago by $80,000.
Does it require another meeting of this body to approve that prior to November 1st?
That would be an amendment to the budget. No, it is not required because you have already approved the budget. However, it is an amendment that I had to bring into the governing body after the reduction in the budget that was approved 2 weeks ago.
Ms. Belson?
Okay, when Mr. Bogie stated his numbers, he stated that there's $50,000 needed for a comprehensive study, correct? Okay, and I do agree with that because we need that and you can kind of get the overview there. Then he also stated there's $75,000 for capital improvements in the parks only, correct?
Correct.
Then another $50,000 for pool improvements,
That's in the budget.
okay? And those are all in your budget.
Correct.
But with this, what we have before us, it's also being asked of the city for the additional $80,000 to come from our general fund, perhaps, because we would have to amend our budget that we just passed 2 weeks ago in order to approve that $80,000. We can approve it today by a yes vote, all those different money suggestions, correct? Because they're all in this document before us.
Yes, that is my understanding,
Okay.
unless finance, I believe that's correct.
Okay.
So yes.
Okay.
Mr. Rager?
From the standpoint of many of my constituents anyway, they see the Parks Department, the Fire Department, the city, the EMS, the Police Department, as a city of Raytown. They don't really see a difference. People that go to work every day and come home, they pay their taxes, so they see it all as one. Even though it may not exactly be that way, certainly they are all part of what we call Raytown. And this board is just kind of filling in for people that may be watching this on television that don't have the background. But this board is charged with overseeing the total budget of the city for the police department and the park department. And when you came forth with your budget, we actually excluded that when we passed the city budget. That's why we're back here tonight, just so everybody understands that. And one of the reasons why we did that is because many of the people on this board felt that supervisors is a vital part of the city. And that's why we excluded the park budget for that. And that's why we've looked into super PACs. I personally support what we've done here, even if we have to take money from Peter to pay Paul, so to speak. Because there are many people on this board that believe that what we're doing here to preserve this park is necessary. So I do support that. Thank you.
Mr. Green?
I just want to confirm this. Is my understanding correct, though, that even if this board were to negate this today, that essentially the budget would revert to last year's budget where the pool would stay open? Did state law, am I right, or I just want to be sure?
If, you already approved the city budget, so that's not a question. But in general, if the governing body failed to approve a budget by a certain date, which in our case, October 31st, then the previous year budget take precedence. So in that regard, the previous year budget included, everything in that budget is moved forward.
Okay. I just want to make sure my understanding is correct. Thanks.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Ms. Dawson, one more.
Yeah. Like I said before, the comprehensive study, capital improvement parks and the pool improvements, I can see that. I'm a little hesitant on the 8,000 with cost share in the city, which, this isn't line itemed out. I mean, it is in the other documentation, but in the resolution. And what I want to know is the $80,000 is included in this resolution to be passed tonight. If it is, can it be taken out and then be brought forward at a later time as a separate item?
So, if you look at the park budget, the number Excel sheet that has provided to you, there is nowhere 80,000 is mentioned. Where you find $80,000 is in the Raytown Park Board minutes, October 20th, 2014, as well as the RBA that was provided to you. Okay? So that shows the intent of the park board when they deliver the approval of their budget, keeping the super splash open as the desire of some of the governing body members. So that was presented. However, the numerical numbers of the budget we're going to approve tonight does not include $80,000. So if you approve the park board budget, it does not have that $80,000 number. However, if you look at the minutes and the RDA, their intent is, and I will read it for the record. When there was under the new business, Michelle Sipes mentioned to approve the fiscal year 2014-15 budget option with super splash open, contingent upon a city park cost share agreement with each party responsible for pool capital improvements cost not to exceed $80,000. Terry Copeland seconded the motion, and the motion passed. So what it means, they're expecting that city share in capital improvements not to exceed $80,000 if the city governing body wishes to continue to open the super splash. So it is not included in the budget, but that is the intent. So if the direction is given for them to move forward to keep the pool open, then I think at some point, city and park will enter into an agreement with the understanding of the capital improvement that they are going to do at the pool, that we will share the cost up to $80,000. So yes, when you approve the budget, you're not approving 80,000, but you're understanding the intent.
The intent of it, okay. All right, thank you.
Very good. Mr. Van Buster.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, initially, as I looked at this, I certainly felt like it might be the right thing to do. I want to see Super Splash stay open. I think that would be better for our community, better for our city. I'd like to see it stay a part of our Parks Department. I do have concerns if it does close, what's going to be there? Are we just going to have an empty facility that's sitting there boarded up? Is there potential of selling that facility to make it profitable for someone who might be able to come in and make some changes and then make it profitable and not the city not operate it? I don't know. I have a lot of questions about it. The other thing, certainly the possibility, I know a lot of the repairs that need to be done were to things that really aren't necessarily related to the pools themselves. So we could possibly operate one or two pools, community pools, and eliminate some of the other amenities there and make it maybe more profitable. I don't know whether that's a possibility. I know it was brought up by some members of the park board, in fact. It's just difficult to make a decision about this, and I know that we have a lot of needs for money in our city, for street improvements, for sidewalks, for street lights, for a lot of other things, we have just so much money to utilize for everything. But I appreciate you bringing this before us, and my understanding is that this budget does not include that additional amount from the city. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
It's important to note that Super Splash has projected revenue of $250,000 in 2015. Estimated expenses, $394,000.
That's fine saying that. Our charge to you, sir, as the director of the Parks Department, is to do a hell of a lot better than that. We do not want to continue to lose the amount of money that we have lost over the number of years. We're looking for it to be managed differently. We're looking for costs to be cut where it needs to be cut. We're looking for things to improve. We saw tonight a very good presentation. And I'm speaking for myself as the mayor, not for this board. But I look for a better management of this and the citizens' money when it pertains to our park system. So I'm excited that we're getting ready to undertake a study of all the parks. And a part of this goes to every single park, every single square footage of our park in this city, to look at what should be spent on an annual basis for capital improvements as well as maintenance. And for that to be projected in 5 years, 10 years, and 15 years. So the citizens and this board can start to make intelligent decisions along with the park board to make sure the money is being spent. The taxpayers' money needs to be spent correctly and for the right things. We're looking to you, sir, to manage that effort.
I believe we're on the right track. 3 years ago, we lost $225,000 at Super Splash. Last year, it was $166,000. We're moving in the right direction. We're forecasting $144,000 loss for next year. Hopefully, we can move that needle in the right direction.
Perfect. Mr. Van
Mr. Mayor, just a couple more comments. That is a concern of mine, that if we do this, if we do come up with some additional funds to assist the park department keeping this open this year, what happens next year? What happens the year after that? Do we have a continuation of that? And that's certainly a concern. I look at the cash balance back in 2010, 2011 was $1.2 million, and now we're down way below half of that. That's a concern. I look at the unreserved fund balance, which was over $1 million in 2010, 2011. It's down to, I'm looking at this correctly, it looks like 91,000. Is that correct? That's a huge concern. And so to concur with what the mayor said, I think we really need to think about thinking outside the box a little bit of what we're doing there. It may take a total reorganization of the park department. I've seen reorganizations in the business world in the past when sometimes they just move everything around and everything really stays the same. And it's kind of like, taking your car and you have a flat tire, so you just rotate the tires and you leave the flat there. We don't need that, certainly, but we do need something to happen to revitalize the parks, to use the monies we have there in an effective manner. And, it's a big part of our city. It's important to our city, our park department is. Thank you.
Ms. Nelson.
I do have an additional question, and it was referencing Alderman Van Buskirk's. In 2014 as projected, the unreserved fund balance is $580,000, give or take, and it goes estimated in the 2014-15 down to $91,000. Do you have a reasoning of why that would decrease so much?
Yes, your revenue is $1.2 million, your expenses are $1.5 million. And due to that, you begin to drop that fund balance reserve. Now, there is a cushion in there of $96,000 for the equipment vehicle replacement that gives you some buffer in the budget.
But is that
Each year, you're spending down your reserves to maintain your park equipment.
right?
And we're reaching the end of the useful life of the swimming pool. It's important for the board to be aware that at some point, there's going to be some costs associated with an older pool.
True. And then, but that $96,000 cushion for vehicle replacement, is that only to be used on vehicles, or did you take that out to do other cushionings in other areas?
It could be used as the board determines.
Seems fit.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Park board.
Park board.
Mr. Green.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Green has the floor, sir.
I believe you have to change.
How much time do you need, Michael?
About 1 minute, maybe less.
I'm working.
You got 10 seconds, Michael.
He's building.
Feel like I'm on.
I'm dating myself, my second tape, I'm sure.
crazy thoughts that are in my head. The way I look at it, no matter the financial situation that we're seeing this right now, the fact is the parks is undergoing a citywide study next year for all the parks, including Super Splash. If Super Splash were to shut down, then you're going to do a study. If it says that if the study says that the Super Splash should open back up, you're going to be losing a lot of clientele. You're going to be losing a lot of the workers. You're going to be losing a lot of the base that Super Splash has. So, honestly, in my mind, the way I look at it, with the intent that is of this, the intent of this, I feel like I have to support it just for at least 1 year while the study is done, so we can get all of our bearings, and the Parks Department can find out what all is going on, and what the long-term projections for maintenance, long-term projections for capital improvements, everything that's needed there. Then I will say I've had several constituents reach out to me over the last couple of weeks. Some disgruntled, telling me that they think that if Super Splash isn't open until Labor Day, that it should be shut down, and many saying that they think it should be open for, as long as we can try to keep it open, because they think it's a great viability to our community. And so with that, knowing that we're doing the study for next year, and if you let Super Splash die now, that it's going to basically kill it no matter what, even if the study says we should keep it alive, I feel like I gotta support this.
Mr. Adrian?
Kevin, I just want to make a comment. When you do the study, for me personally, it's important that what they report is accurate. Yes, that pool is over 50 years old, but all of the things that need to be repaired are changes that were made by the park after they purchased the Raytown Swim Club. Pretty much the old 50-meter pool, as was alone, has very few repairs. So it's really everything that the park did, that the park department did to change that park that's now having problems. And there was a time when they were making money on it, and they were not putting any money aside for repairs, because all equipment eventually wears out. A truck does, a car does, and so do parts to pool pumps. So when they make their report, I just don't personally want to hear a comment about this pool is 50 years old, because that's not the part that's being broken as for the most part. So please, I appreciate that.
Ms. Belson?
One more question. The fees for service in 2013-14, you had a 67,000, give or take, and then it's increasing to 114,000 in 14-15. Do you know why that increase would be there?
Is that the first page? Yeah, it's 67,000.
800.
The basketball program, youth basketball program is the majority of that revenue.
Okay, that's my kind of.
47,000 roughly for the youth basketball. We have 424 kids registered.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent. All right, we good?
One more comment. Next guy, actually.
Go ahead.
I will say two things really quick, just really quick things. Firstly, hopefully with this study, watch Steve. Hopefully with this study, we can get a more viable financial outlook at the Parks Department, because I know that has been a huge concern over these last couple months. And secondly, as soon as I was appointed originally to the Parks Board, or not the Parks Board, sorry, the Super Splash Governance Committee, I was adamant that with good marketing, which is what we've seen this last cycle with Super Splash this last season, with good marketing in a couple of years' time, that we can possibly turn this around to be where it isn't as big of a liability as we see it as. And with the marketing that's occurred over the last season, and the fact that, I mean, if you look at, I'm just using Facebook here, they're up to 1,700 followers. That's huge. And the fact is, on social media, and anyone that knows YouTube demographics and everything can tell you that those likes and subscriptions, whatever you talk about, they grow exponentially. And so the more time, the faster they grow. So I think if we keep it open for another year, I think we're going to be in for some good surprises.
I think that certainly the park board, armed with information from the study,
Yes.
they're better able to make a decision on the facts. They bring it back to us. We make the inevitable decision on their recommendations. So
Yeah.
I'm excited that said, is a good thing. And, any no further discussion at this time?
Mayor Bauer, I'll just make one more comment, because there was a question or comment made tonight that we are all part of the city. We are. However, there are laws that we are also bound with. There are funds that are specific for that purpose only. Give you an example. We just had public safety sales tax passed. That is only for that purpose, not for any other purpose. If we have a park levy, that is for park purpose. If we have a sanitary sewer, that is enterprise fund, that can only be utilized for sanitary sewer purpose. If we have fire district levy, that is for the firemen. We can say we are all city, we are all same school district. You can't use that fund for any other purpose but for education. So I just wanted to be clear that you understand that distinction. I understand the philosophy you're saying we're all the same, but by law, we are bound not to commingle, not to mix, not to transfer those funds. Now, as I read those minutes, which says capital improvement projects, what it means, if we have to spend the money for capital improvement projects, then the money has to come from capital improvement fund, which means that the budget that you approve for capital improvement programs with the general budget has to be trimmed $80,000 if we move forward with that. And just, I wanted to be clear with that we will go back to drawing board with the management team and sit down and talk about how and where we can trim $80,000 from capital improvement budget. What it means buying a less police car, buying a equipment for public works. I don't know. That's why Mr. Ben Busker, I was unable to answer your question that you asked. Where that money is going to come from, I don't know. We will have to figure it out once the direction is given to us. So I just want to make sure we are clear on that.
Ms. Melson?
On the minutes, the budget of the park board was passed only contingent on with Super Splash being open about the cost share thing. If this does not pass tonight, how does that means that the park board budget that they passed is not valid?
Mr. Wilson, welcome, George Mitchell, the president of the park board.
And I guess my concern here is that,
Shirley, can you just repeat your question just one more time, just so I
well,
understand it?
and my concern is that the park board approved the budget with the option of Super Splash being open contingent upon the city park cost share agreement, and it goes for the $80,000.
Sure.
So if it does not pass tonight by the board, then how does that affect that statement?
And I guess the better question that you need to clarify is which part are you saying that doesn't pass? If you're talking about the park board budget, which is in front of you, if that passes, then you have another step to do. If you decide not to pass the park board budget, then there's some other ramifications that we have to discuss later. It won't be a knock on, it would be, the park board budget would then have to be redone.
Right.
If it doesn't get redone in time, then it reverts back to, as Alderman Green talked about earlier, back to last year's budget or the current year budget right now. And there's some ramifications of that, which we really don't want to get into. So we're really hoping that the board passes the budget in front of it.
And I guess, and so what you're saying then is that we have another step to do
Correct.
is the $80,000, the decision on that.
Right.
Because what you're deciding right now is, or we're deciding is just to pass the park board budget as presented tonight. Because my question, concern is with the option with Super Splash open contingent upon city parks cost share agreement with each party. I find that very interesting statement. Responsible pool capital improvement costs not to exceed $80,000. And that's, the way that you brought this budget forward is with that statement. Y'all passed it because of that statement.
Correct.
Right.
Based on some discussions that we've had with the city. And so we are hoping that the city can assist the park board with the $80,000 from the capital improvement fund, from hopefully from the general fund. If not, I mean, you have the budget in front of you, and so you see if we open Super Splash next year, that number that concerns you, that the 91,000 and some other dollars, that concerns you, that concerns us as well.
Right.
Which is why we did not make a decision before not to open Super Splash and look at those numbers.
Right.
And so if you guys are asking for better management of the pool, that would be a step for us to better manage the pool by not having it open because it is a major drain. And so we're asking for some assistance. If you guys want to keep the pool open, which we hope we all do.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Well, that didn't sound good. Mr. Manvester.
Mr. Mayor, if we pass this budget, that, the amount we're talking about in the city is not in that budget. So that would be a whole other issue up for discussion before our board. And whether or not we approve that amount or not, there is no obligation to that in passing this budget.
No, there's not.
All right, thank you.
Mr.
I'm going to support this on the grounds that exactly what, as it was proposed by the park department. That if we vote yes for it, it doesn't mean that we do intend to find the $80,000 to support the capital improvements.
I think that's the intent of what's in front of us, as I understand it. I think we have, if we're going to vote on this, if we're going to approve this, we have to vote on it with the intent of finding a place to derive that 80,000 from. What I'm very careful of is that Super Splash does not open in 2015. It is gone. It will never open again. And that's a really important decision for the city. We had people come out and talk to us tonight. I've had a lot of people talk to me. This is within our control. We have worked, we formed an ad hoc committee to work with Park Board's ad hoc committee to go through the budget, to talk about this $80,000. We've made all the same points together. We've shared those points. We agreed upon those points. I think that tonight we have to make the decision that this budget is approved with the intent of finding a place for the $80,000 in good state of working together. Just as any department would come to us, if any department had an issue, they would come to us and ask for the same amount of money. I don't want to open up the door to continue to have these things, but this is a real issue within our control tonight. We can reopen Super Splash in 2015. We're armed with a good study. We're able to make an intelligent decision based on the facts. That's what's before us tonight, and I think we should be approving this with the intent of finding a home from which that $80,000 comes from. Further discussion? Ready to vote? Call the vote. We have a motion and a second already. Call the vote.
Alderman Ernst,
Yes.
Alderman Mock,
Yes.
Alderman Nelson,
Pass.
Alderman Lightfoot,
Yes.
Alderman Asia,
Yes.
Alderman Josh Green,
Yes.
Alderman Van Busker,
I'll pass.
Alderman Emerson,
No.
Alderman Nelson,
Yes.
Alderman Van Busker,
Yes.
Motion passes.